We're back to postcards again this week. I feel like it's now become such an obsession for me to better understand how postcards came about and how they have become part of Americana and American history, especially, and how they connected the world in so many ways. And what impact that they've had has just been a little mind boggling in a little way. As I cozy up on this cold winter night here in Connecticut, as the year comes to a draw, you start thinking about how you're communicating with family members throughout the world and throughout the year. And postcards, even now, are a means to do that. And sitting here in this room with my warm cup of tea, discussing this and going through this with you all, just makes me think of how much time has changed, yet postcards have stayed the same. And this week, I kind of focused on where they impacted the most. And the one that I found the most entertaining of a lot is the United States Postal Service. Historically, the United States Postal Service has operated at a loss, not a gain, at a loss. But in 1911, because of postcards, it managed to operate at a gain, all because of the simple postcard, which is just such a fun concept that this little itty bitty square had such a big impact on such a major federal organization. And it was all because we were in the golden age of postcards, which was between 1905 to 1920, and people were conveying information everywhere via postcards. Another area that postcards had such a big impact on was the women's suffrage movement here in the United States, which was just an unbelievably fun way of thinking about them, because the suffrage movement allowed for women to vote finally here in the US. Because of the postcards, they allowed women to convey times for meetings and places and things that were going on within the suffrage movement throughout the country, allowing for large organized groups of women to form protests throughout all the major cities and throughout smaller cities throughout the United States, all because the ease in which postcards were mailed and sent. It impacted one of the most major movements the United States has ever seen, all through a postcard. When you really think about it, that's mind-blowing, mind-boggling. As an historian, it's changing because you're now looking for a completely different primary source if you're studying these movements, because you're now looking for postcards, which changes the narrative because you're learning about people in such an organic way, but also learning about what's going on. And finally, the last thing that they impacted is how we perceive movements, like I was talking before, and archaeological sources in a lot of ways, and primary sources. They were that impactful now. They've been around for so long that they've changed how we look at the 20th century, because they brought the 20th century to life in color. Up to this point, color wasn't really used, and postcards changed that. Colored postcards allow historians to look at places that we've missed before, all because they're in color. Such a simple thing, such a simple piece of paper or cardboard has managed to be part of major movements to allow a national organization to operate at a gain and change the way historians perceive history, all because it brought it to color. Postcards. So with all of that in mind, I hope you enjoyed. Cheers and have a wonderful evening.